Formula One is a very expensive and lucrative sport, but not in the same sense that football or other sports are. Football is expensive because it is by far the most popular and followed sport on the planet, so it's understandable that it costs a lot of money. But Formula One is costly for a different reason. It's incredibly exclusive or focused, if that makes sense, and part of that exclusivity is the fact that there are only 20 drivers. And because there are only 20, they're among the world's highest paid athletes. But how much are they paid exactly? Well, in this video, I'll do just that, breaking down each driver's compensation for the current season and explaining why they are paid so much. Before I go into the figures, let me first explain the various methods a Formula One driver can make money, which is rather straightforward. They are compensated in three ways. They are compensated with salary incentives, sponsorship deals, and endorsements. The wage is a lump sum payment made by the team directly to the driver, either monthly or annually depending on the contract, and it is the primary source of income for the majority of drivers. Then there are bonuses, which are payments made by the team to the driver as a result of their achievements. This can be in the form of a race win, additional points, or, of course, a bonus if you win the championship. Lotus took the dangerous business of bonuses in 2012 when they paid Kimi Räikkönen $60,000 for every point he achieved. Over the next 2 years, he scored 390 points, including 13 podiums and 2 wins, for a total of slightly over $23 million. Lotus was on the verge of going bankrupt. That is one example of when bonuses exceed salaries, but it is uncommon. Sponsorships or endorsements are the last source of money. These are different from both pay and bonuses in that they are paid by the brand or company that the driver represents, rather than the team. Lewis Hamilton's endorsement with the clothing brand Tommy Hilfiger, with whom he works closely and receives compensation, is a perfect illustration of this. Similar to bonuses, endorsements account for a lesser portion of total driver earnings, and some drivers, such as Lewis Hamilton against Nicholas Latifi, will earn more from endorsements if they are more successful. For the time being, enough with the explanations. Let's get started. You've come to see some huge statistics, so let's get started. Starting at the top, there's Mick Schumacher, who was paid $1 million. Moving on to Williams, where freshly hired Alex Albon will be paid $2 million and Nicholas Latifi will be paid $1 million. Moving to the midfield, Alfa Romeo has Guan Yu Zhu, who earns $1 million, while his buddy Valtteri Bottas earns 10 times as much. Let's take a peek at AlphaTauri. Pierre Gasly, the race winner, earns $5 million per year, while his colleague Yuki Tsunoda earns the least at $750,000. It's not quite pennies on the dollar, but as you get closer to the Alpine, the numbers start to add up. Esteban Ocon took home the same $5 million as Gasly, while his teammate Fernando Alonso took home a whopping $20 million, the third highest in the sport. I suppose it simply goes to show how valuable experience can be. Moving on to Aston Martin, you have Sebastian Vettel and Lance Stroll. Based on Alpine, you'd expect Vettel to be paid more, and you'd be correct, with Vettel earning $15 million compared to $10 million for Stroll. At Ferrari, Charles Leclerc takes home $12 million compared to Carlos Sainz Jr. $10 million. With updated contract at McLaren, Lando Norris makes $20 million per year, and Daniel Ricciardo takes home $15 million. These figures make sense based on last season's performance. It's a different story when it comes to the top two teams, Red Bull and Mercedes. Starting with Red Bull, Sergio Perez has been paid a very modest amount of $8 million, but that is because his teammate, Max Verstappen, is paid $25 million, putting him in second place overall and making him the most paid athlete in the Netherlands. So, Mercedes, the reigning champions. In a similar vein to Red Bull, George Russell is paid significantly less at $5 million, while his teammate and world champion Lewis Hamilton is paid a whopping $40 million, the most of any driver in 2022. Also, if you're curious about the most amount ever awarded to a driver in a single year, Sebastian Vettel was the man who made $50 million in 2016. That's 25 times more than Google CEO Sundar Pichai's salary. So, there you have it. The average Formula One driver wage is just over $9 million. So, why are they so well compensated? Especially because the average CEO only makes a fraction of this. There are three key reasons for this: skill, financial worth, and risk. But let's start with skill. As we all know, there are only 20 Formula One drivers, which means they are the top 20 drivers in the world right now, and they are therefore extremely important to a Formula One team. The value that the driver gives can be vital for a team that needs a truly good driver to assist them achieve success in the sport. Consider how vital Lewis Hamilton has been to Mercedes' success over the last 7 years. Yet, skill isn't the primary reason drivers are paid millions of dollars each year. The economic value of the driver is the primary factor. It's all about the drivers in Formula One. They're the celebs, the personalities, and Formula One wouldn't be the same without them. These international celebrity drivers attract millions of new viewers, which translates into millions of new purchases. As a result, the economic value that the drivers provide to the teams implies that these drivers are well compensated. This is undoubtedly the most important reason why drivers like Hamilton, Verstappen, and Fernando Alonso are so well compensated. They are international superstars who bring in millions of dollars for their teams, but that is only part of the story. Formula One teams can afford to pay their drivers millions because they may generate hundreds of millions in sponsorship revenue in a single year. When you compare this to a smaller GT racing series, you'll notice that the drivers are paid significantly less simply because the teams are paid much less to sponsor them. It's basic economics, but that's not all. One of the reasons why drivers are paid so much is the danger they face every time they enter the cockpit. Obviously, Formula One has been significantly safer in recent decades. There is still an inherent risk, and the incident involving Romain Grosjean is just one example. As a result, it appears to be quite fair to compensate drivers for risking their lives at every race, qualifying practice, and test. But, as I previously stated, there is a more subtle reason why drivers are paid more. There is no economic value that can be placed on the danger. So, there you have it, the earnings of Formula One drivers. When compared to other sports, Formula One drivers are among the highest paid athletes on the planet, with Lewis Hamilton topping the list with a $40 million contract. Were you shocked by their earnings, or did you anticipate them to make a little more? We'd love to hear your thoughts, so post them in the comments area below, and as usual, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to be notified of new videos.